Welcome back, friends, to another The City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Lids87 here, and today, guys, we got something special going on today. So, you guys all know him, Forty The Broadway Saiyan. Say hello, Forty.
Hey guys, mahal everyone, like I always say. First of all, I am honestly extremely grateful that Lids87, my bro, an amazing fellow DFFOO content creator and streamer, has me for this awesome collaboration for undoubtedly one of the most popular characters coming out. Well, he's already out, but getting his awakening and his EX weapon on Opera Omnia. So thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be on this collaboration to discuss his awakening and what he gets with his EX weapon and all the good details on his lost chapter.
Yeah, same thing. So again, thank you for joining me on this. This is gonna be great. This is probably, I mean, amongst a lot of other people, probably the one of the top favorite villains in the whole Final Fantasy series. So we will be talking about, of course, Sephiroth. Sephiroth is finally getting his lost chapter and awakening, and man, I am extremely excited. Level 60 awakening.
Definitely. And Sephiroth is, I mean, he is single target, but the cool thing about him is he has this really amazing framed buff that has no turn duration that not only helps him, but it also decreases the enemy's performance. So I'm super excited to talk about this. He's a really popular and fun unit. So yeah, super powerful unit, especially with his awakening.
For sure. So the way we are going to be doing this is pretty much kind of like podcast style. I try to combine both of our styles together, but we figured we'd go through this and essentially give your our thoughts and feedback about Sephiroth. So let's go on. So along with Sephiroth's lost chapter, Aiko and Vincent will be synergy for his lost chapters, and we will get more into the banner later on, but I feel like I needed to bring this because a lot of people definitely ask about what about the other units if they're still good. In my personal opinion, they're good. Vincent has a very nice, sweet attack down debuff, and Aiko with her Bray battery and healing, it's still pretty good even at this point.
I definitely agree with that. So both characters, while they're no longer really like super top tier in the global version of the game, they're both still very usable. Vincent with his imperils, first of all, with the fire and thunder element, and then he has that amazing attack down debuff. When you have all of his passives for his live wire shot, that's a 70% reduction on attack on a target. So if the enemy doesn't have any kind of immunity or resistance to attack down, they're literally going to be hitting you like a toothpick. And then Aiko, she's like everybody's sweetheart. I'm sorry, but Aiko is like a sweetheart to everybody. In the level 50 era, she was amazing. Even in the level 60 era, when she first got her level 60, she was already amazing. And if you didn't get a chance to pull for her gear, she is awesome. She's one of those like healer slash support where she's very consistent because now with her level 60, she not only provides her heals, her buffs, and her battery, but she also, with provisional requirements for her HP attacks, can deal HP damage. So everybody loves her. These are both great characters to have in your roster if you didn't get a chance to pull for them in the past.
Agreed, definitely agreed. All right, so let us move on. So Sephiroth, what kind of unit and crystals affinity is he? So Sephiroth is like 40 mentioned earlier, he is a single target melee DPS unit, and he is a green affinity crystal unit. So guys, farm up them green shards so you guys can be ready to 60 this guy right away. Now, so right away, I want to start talking about his crystal passive. So again, before when Sephiroth first came out in the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia for his character event, he was just level 50. So along with this, with his lost chapter, we are getting his crystal level up to 60. So at crystal level 54, he is getting Genova attack up, moderately raises attack while Genova is active. I'll go over Genova in a little bit, but it is his permanent unique buff. At crystal level 58, he receives buff boost and speed up, which slightly raises max brave and speed while buff. Now, just looking at his crystal 54 and 58, this makes him more of a more essentially a selfish, a single target DPS. He has no team auras with this, well, besides Genova, but he mainly just buffs himself.
I mean, he buffs himself, but then we take a look at a unit like Kane, who kind of does the same thing. And we're kind of coming into this era in Opera Omnia where we have a unit that is like strictly support. For example, Lena, great auras, great buffs, and that's what she's made for. But she hits like a wet noodle. And then we have somebody like Sephiroth, where his aura may not be supporting the party, but at the same time, it's his role. So we're kind of like I said, we're getting into that era where like each character is differentiated by their role. And I feel like for somebody like Sephiroth, with what he gets with his 54 and 58 passives, it definitely solidifies him as being one of those immensely powerful single target DPS units. I mean, if we take a look at his 54 passive Genova attack up, it's a 60% increase to his attack, and that's an aura when he's buffed with Genova. And then we have his 58 boost and speed up. He gets a 30% max brave increase, and then he gets a speed up while he's buffed with Genova. So as long as you have that Genova framed buff active, he's getting essentially 3 different buffs that enhance his ability to just beat face and deal as much damage as possible to a single target. So it's great that we have these differentiated roles as we move further along within Opera Omnia.
Definitely agree. So now let's go into his first ability. Now, before I do get into his 55, just if you guys are newer to the game or are not familiar what Sephiroth's first ability is, it is Fervent Blow. At base, it just moderately raises attack while Genova is active. It's a 10-hit melee brave attack. And this is boosted by his 15 CP Masamune Unit Blade, which just pretty much just raises the brave potency of it. So now that you guys are familiar with that, so at crystal level 55, he gets Fervent Blow extended. So it gives him an extra use of Fervent Blow, increases both brave potency by 150%, deals single target HP attack after 5th and 10th brave attacks. So now before, instead of just doing all those brave attacks, those 10 brave attacks, it hits for 5 times, does an HP attack, follows it up again. There is no brave overflow on this ability, but that's okay because of this, because you could be pretty much almost capped, and the fact that this repeats itself again, he's just getting in that extra damage in. This also has a low action delay, increases currently active Genova stack by 2. So right below the little blue box, I got Genova. So what Genova is, it lowers all enemy speed, raises own speed boost based on level up to 4. This is increased up to 5 with his 35 CP passive. So at Genova stack 1, he increases his own speed by 60, then so on at 2, 120%, at 3, 180%, at 4, 240%, and at 5, 300% speed up. That's insane. And of course, it lowers all enemy speed by 50%.
So one of the things I love about Fervent Blow with his awakening is, for one, he has more longevity because he gets an additional skill usage, but now it also becomes a more efficient type of an ability, because before it was purely brave shaving. Like Sephiroth literally swings a shockwave that hits 10 times, and because of the fairly high damage potency, because the total damage potency on this ability with passives before his level 60 was at 270%. Now it not only brave shaves, but it's dealing HP damage twice. It's lowering his action delay, which helps him out because at base, Sephiroth is actually at a slow speed tier. But then obviously if you have his Genova, that trivializes it because of the insane amount of speed he gets. And then to top it off, the efficiency is coming from his HP attacks, because he does 5 hits, and then he does an HP attack, and then he does another 5 hits and does another HP attack. And the total potency increased to 150%. That's a total of 420%. So if you think about it, he does 5 hits at 240% potency, and then another 5 hits at 240% potency. So whatever he's hitting, as long as they don't resist physical damage, he's going to break them, and he's going to be dealing an insane amount of damage. And it doesn't even matter if he doesn't have any overflow with his ability, because the fact that he deals 2 HP attacks is already more than enough of an upgrade to this ability. So, like I said, he solidifies himself as one of the strongest, hardest hitting single target DPS units that we have, and as long as he's not hitting somebody that resists his physical attacks, Sephiroth is going to be dealing the maximum amount of damage as much as possible.
I'm definitely looking forward to this change. So next up we got Sephiroth. His second ability is called Octaslash. So again, if you're not familiar with what it is, it's a 7 hit melee brave attack plus HP attack, raises Genova level by 1. And this is boosted by its 35 CP Masamune. Masamune, what it does is it gives him additional use of Octaslash. So yes, you do need this. I think going forward, a lot of these units, you do need their weapons, guys. It's 15 and 35 CP passive. But when using Octaslash, raises brave potency, increases the maximum stacks of Genova by 1. So instead of just getting 1 Genova stack, he will be getting 2. As long as you're breaking the target or the target is broken, which is part of the next bullet. And finally, raises max brave and attack based on the number of Genova stacks. So Octaslash extended his crystal level 60 passive. It further increases Octaslash's by 1, increases potency by 280%, allows max brave overflow for up to 150%. And now, when Genova is active, it changes his Brave Attack into Brave Attack Plus. So not only is this guy freaking hitting like a massive truck, he can also essentially last a little bit longer in fights now with his Brave Attack Plus, which is, I believe, like once we get the Cosmos era stages, these bosses, they're going to start getting beefier, so you want to start lasting longer in fights. And having a Brave Attack Plus just helps him out, it helps him Brave shape better. And essentially build up his brave again so he could HP attack on his following turn.
Definitely. So the thing with this Octaslash is this is his opener. You want to open with this because this is what gives Sephiroth that Genova. And the Genova is what essentially trivializes Sephiroth's low base speed. So what I love about what he gets with his awakening is, first of all, let's take a look at increased potency. Increases potency by 280%. So at level 50, this ability was at a total of 210%. At level 60, he's at 490%. If you take a look at that percentage, that's higher than some EX abilities, which is insane. Not only that, but he has overflow. And because Sephiroth hits so hard, you're going to hit that overflow of 150%. And for an ability to have 150% overflow is just a great blessing in itself, because that means Sephiroth is going to be dealing an insane amount of HP damage. And then to top it off, like you said, Lids, when we get into the Cosmos era, we're going to start seeing the importance of Brave Attack Plus and HP Attack Plus, because bosses are going to get beefier, they're going to have higher defense, they're going to have more HP, and not only that, but the actual wave of mobs that you fight prior to the boss, they're going to be a lot beefier too. So you got to take into consideration that, okay, I want to take this character that has all these abilities and uses, but I got to be smart about how I use my abilities, because if I get to the boss and I run out of abilities, what am I going to do? I'm going to be stuck doing Brave Attack and HP Attack, and more than likely, my party is going to wipe. I'm not going to be able to clear the stage. So these really powerful Brave Attacks and HP Attacks are very crucial and critical approaching the Cosmos era. And to top it off, Sephiroth's Brave Attack Plus is a 5-hit melee, single-target Brave Attack. And it's at a 200% brave damage potency, which is pretty good. So a fairly high chance for Sephiroth to be able to break a powerful boss, as long as, again, they don't resist melee attacks with this Brave Attack Plus. So very, very good upgrades. Absolutely loving what they did to this character at level 60.
Don't forget what 40 said, guys. This is your opener for the Genova stacks. Octaslash into Fervent Blow. Don't forget that, guys. Alright, so along with his Lost Chapter, Sephiroth is getting an EX weapon, his Mako katana, which equips the EX ability Black Materia. Now, Black Materia, it's at a slightly slow recast speed. It reduces all enemies brave by 100%. This is all targets. Now, this is the one thing that people are iffy about, is the fact that it does not break the targets, it just reduces their brave to 0. If the target is already broken, it doesn't do anything. But a lot of people, they're not happy with this fact that he doesn't break it. So that's completely up to you. I don't mind it, me personally. It heals his own brave by 5 times 50% of his own attack and deals AoE HP attack, 100% AoE HP attack. Now that's pretty damn good, especially because a lot of the times we see two types of bosses, or a number of bosses, I should say. We either see a single target boss or multiple bosses, like 2 bosses. We've even seen 3 bosses with the Horsemen. So the more bosses there are, this definitely helps Sephiroth just do more damage overall to the entire group of enemies. Now, upon using Black Materia, he gets 1 stack of Reunion, which is a new unique buff that he does receive. It's a frame buff for 6 turns, and of course, once he uses Black Materia, your next ability there, it does not consume the ability used. So, oh my gosh, this helps him last so much longer in fights. So, Reunion, let me just quickly go over what that does. Reunion raises max Brave and regains Brave based on the number of stacks. So increases max Brave. The max it can get is up to 40%. So 10%, 20, 30, and 40% in max stacks. Brave regen. There was some little bit errors on the oh gosh, what's it called for you? The Tafinas?
Oh, yeah, so if we go, it's on Kafina's database, they didn't have all the percentages, but the most important thing to note is that at the maximum stacks of Black Materia, Sephiroth not only is getting a 40% max Brave increase, but it's a 200% Brave regen based on his initial Brave. That's a really high number, 200%. That's pretty nuts for a regen that he's getting off of Reunion at the maximum stacks. So that's the percentages that we're looking for there. So yeah, definitely, this is an amazing weapon.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead and talk about it more, Lids, because yeah, this is pretty insane.
So So like I mentioned earlier, I think one of the main important things that I absolutely love about this is the fact that after using it, your next ability does not get consumed. This helps Sephiroth last much longer. If for some reason you don't have your Genova stacks up there, you know Black Materia into either ability, Fervent Blow or Octaslash. It's so good. And like 40 said, with that 200% int Brave, pair him up with Lena. He's gonna get so much Brave back and it's just really good, guys. It's really good.
Yeah, definitely. And not only about the free ability usage, but let's just take a look at what exactly happens if you pair him up with Elena with all of her gear passes equipped, including her EX. So Lena with her gear fully equipped grants 100% initial Brave regen. Yes, pair that up with Sephiroth's with his full Reunion stacks. Sephiroth is getting 300% initial Brave regen based on his initial Brave. So whenever Sephiroth's turn comes around, even if let's say he's he's at a low Brave, that's an insane amount of Brave that he's regenning per turn, meaning that he's sustaining himself. He's able to not really worry about getting broken, especially if you're pairing him up with a deep buffer alongside Lena. So it gets pretty insane. And to top it off, if we take a look at what he gets with the limit breaks that he gets with his weapon, at 1 out of 3, he increases that self-brave heal. So remember, when he uses Black Materia, he heals his own brave 5 times by 50% of his own attack. If you get his EX weapon limit broken by 1, that increases to 100% of his own attack. So let's say his attack is at, let's just say theoretically, 2,500. 2,500 times 5. That's a lot of Brave that he's healing for before he actually uses that HP attack. And then afterwards, at 2 out of 3 limit break, after he uses Black Materia, rather than granting himself 1 stack of Reunion, he grants himself 2 stacks of Reunion. So now he's getting 3 stacks of Reunion, so he's automatically going to be at Reunion 3. And to top it off, at base, this ability has a slightly slow recast speed. So when you fully upgrade this is going to be at a normal recast speed. While not the fastest, it's still pretty fast. So that means you could rely on Sephiroth being able to use his ability fairly often, especially for longer, tougher fights.
Definitely agree. I love the fact that at 2-3 he gets 3 stacks of Reunion. So I love that fact. Like you said, just more Brave regen. And it is, keep in mind, guys, that this is for when he does get Reunion, it is for 6 turns. So that's, I always like to say, 6 turns in my personal opinion. I would say that's a good amount of turns for having buffs up. I know anything lower and you're in longer fights, that goes by pretty quickly. So if you're at 6 turns and you're probably using abilities every other turn, you could have Sephiroth's Black Materia EX ability back up by that time, and when you use, of course, Black Materia again, you'll be at max stacks. So it's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive.
For sure, definitely. And um, again, favorite character, a very popular favorite villain by so many Final Fantasy fans. So I know that this awakening and that the release of this Lost Chapter is definitely going to be an exciting time for us global players of Opera.
For sure, for sure. Now, time to go over the banners. Now, Sephiroth's EX weapon, the Mako katana, does appear over the course. This is on JP's timeline, guys, so please keep that in mind. This could change over on global. So of course he is going to get it on his Lost Chapter alongside Vincent's 35 and 15 CP weapon and Aiko's 35 and 15 CP weapon. There is another campaign later down the line. Again, JP that got the CM campaign where he is alongside Cloud. And during this campaign, what Square was doing was they were releasing EX banners, double EX banners every single day. The first draw was free, and there was only 2 featured characters on those banners. There was no off banners, no off banner weapons on these banners. So essentially, this is the best time to pull for said characters if they are featured on that banner. And and alongside him, it's Cloud with his EX. So if you did miss out on Cloud, don't worry, guys. Sephiroth and Cloud, they do come back often, and we see Sephiroth again when he gets his EX Plus alongside Aiko.
So yeah, while this banner is as amazing as it is when it first comes out, I mean, you have Sephiroth, who is the obvious prize with his EX Mako katana, and then you have Vincent and Aiko, who, while again, like we said, they're not top tier units on global, but they are very useful units. So it's a great banner to pull on. But the thing is that let's take a look at what we've already gotten. First of all, what did we get recently? We got Kane's rework early, and Kane getting his rework early is a blessing because if you happen to have built him, even with just his 15 and 35, he actually hits pretty hard and he has overflow on both of his abilities. And he's similar to Sephiroth in where he is a physical damage dealer. While he is ranged, and whereas Sephiroth is physical, he's still physical. So let's say you're like, I don't want to pull in Sephiroth, but I happen to have Kane built. Well, then there you go. You can use Kane. So skipping on Sephiroth's banner isn't necessarily a bad thing, because his banner does come back with a campaign featured alongside Cloud's EX weapon, because these 2 characters are so popular. And then by the time his EX Plus rolls around, we're going to see his weapon come back again with Aiko's EX weapon, who also gets an EX Plus. And to top it off, because Sephiroth is so popular, and you can agree with me on this, Lids.
For sure.
That Square might repeat his EX weapon even more. I mean, think about it. Remember back then, last year, when they did the character vote, and they're like, which character do you want to see come early? Remember what happened when Sephiroth came out in that poll with Rydia and Sid? Sephiroth, like totally brutalized that entire vote. Like, everyone's like, I want Sephiroth, because he was so popular. So I'm not saying that it will happen, but there's a very high chance that I feel like this EX weapon could repeat a lot more often just because of how popular this character is. And let's not forget, guys, Final Fantasy VII Remake next year in March. You never know. They might do some kind of banner where they refeature Sephiroth's EX weapon. So I'm just saying, guys, if you pull for it now, great. He's a very powerful character. But if you decide to skip, you're not gonna entirely miss out, because the character is so popular that they're gonna be repeating his weapon multiple times, so just keep that in mind. Especially, I know those of you that are free-to-play players and you're like, oh man, my resources are low, should I do this, should I not? But all in all, the most important thing, like I always say and everybody says, is that if Sephiroth is one of your favorites, forget about the meta, forget about what people say, just pull on Sephiroth because he's your favorite.
I wholeheartedly agree with that, for sure. And of course, I did vote for him when they did those polls. So there,
Yeah.
I think the one thing I did fear about those polls were, remember, Kuja was also one of the other options, so I was hoping they didn't put them on the same poll, but luckily they did not. All right, so
Yeah, definitely.
So that was pretty much going over Sephiroth's awakening. Now we're gonna get into pretty much our thoughts about Sephiroth's awakening. So 40, what do you think about Sephiroth's level 60 awakening?
Absolutely powerful. Right now, Kane because he got his rework early, is probably one of the hardest hitting single target DPS units. But with Sephiroth coming out literally at like less than 24 hours from now, upon the making of this collaboration video, I think Sephiroth's going to take that spot. And not only that, he has utility in that amazing Genova framed buff that he gets that does not have a turn duration. So the reason why he is so good is because since we're approaching Cosmos, we're going to come to a point where like bosses get so hard, and that speed debuff, that permanent speed debuff, provided that the boss doesn't have any kind of a dispel on framed buffs, is super, super powerful. It allows Sephiroth to really perform and in a way kind of, support the party with that permanent speed debuff that he provides with that framed buff. So he's a very powerful character, and I will say this, even if you don't pull on his EX weapon and you already have the rest of his gear, he's still really strong, guys. He is still very, very strong, and you shouldn't sleep on this character. He's going to be a very useful character up until maybe at the very tail end of the Cosmos era before we hit the Chaos era.
For sure. Now, I was like thinking all day, I was like, what can I do with Sephiroth's speed down? I'm like, oh, so I'm going to pair him up with a Lisette, right? Because she has a very generic speed down with her first ability. And then I'm like, who else has a unique speed down built into the kit? And I'm like, oh, right, Ramza with his EX ability, with his hold on, I'm trying to remember the global. I like saying triple break because that's how I've been playing JP, and that's how I've known it. Enervate, I believe it's called on global, and with his Enervate debuff, he lowers attack, defense, and speed. So man, the shenanigans he can pull off with this just to reduce the enemy speed by so much, that's gonna be beautiful. I can't wait to see people do that.
Oh, definitely. Like Sephiroth will literally make almost every boss that you come up against, no matter how hard they are, as long as they don't resist speed down, like move like a turtle,
Oh,
so
yeah.
He's gonna be.
Yeah, the turtle's the worst boss in this game. So, what are your thoughts about his EX weapon?
Like I said, definitely makes him a lot more powerful. Prolongs his longevity for tougher fights because of that free ability usage. Gives him more versatility because now he's dealing 100% AoE HP damage, because before he was only single target. Now he has a way to deal with multiple targets. Is it a must pull? It's debatable. If you pull it, Sephiroth becomes even more of a beast than he already is. But I personally really, really like it. Me personally, on my main account, I will throw tickets at it because I told myself that I'm not going to start using gems until the Zac level 60 Awakening and Veins event, because those are the two weapons that I'm really chasing after ever since I went free to play. Yeah, so I'm going to throw tickets at Sephiroth, so hopefully nobody's triggered or offended by that, I do recognize that he's really powerful, but I'm going to be using tickets. It's definitely a powerful EX weapon. For me personally, it's not a super must pull. It's one of those like 50-50. It depends on what you have in your roster, and it depends on how important you prioritize the other characters that are coming out after him. But like I always say, favorites take over the meta. Favorites take over whatever any of us say, because the important thing is we're all enjoying this game.
I definitely agree with him. Like you said, for Sephiroth, he's amongst like one of the top favorite villains in the Final Fantasy series. I am hands down going ham for this guy. I love what his EX ability does. Again, I don't mind that it doesn't break the enemies. I know a lot of people are a little bit triggered about that. I don't have an issue with it personally. I love that it's 100% AoE damage. I love that he brave heals himself, so he's his own brave battery, so to say, and alongside with Reunion, so that just helps him last longer in fights. And I love the fact that he can have a free ability use upon his next turn, kind of like lightning, except without all the delays and stuff. But I definitely love it. Now I heard Forty mention Vayne, which is actually part of the next slide. How do we see Sephiroth compared to other melee units? So like recently, Cloud or Vayne? 40, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, Sephiroth definitely hits harder than Cloud. What Cloud has over Sephiroth, though, is I think his utility is better as offensive utility, because Cloud can launch and Cloud has guaranteed paralysis. And to top it off, Cloud has overflow with both of his abilities, and he's also very consistent in dealing HP damage afterwards. As far as raw damage, Sephiroth is always going to surpass Cloud in that. I mean, come on, even in Final Fantasy VII and like Advent Children, I mean, Sephiroth hits harder than Cloud, even though Cloud has like the bigger sword. Vayne, so Vayne is interesting because while I didn't pull for him when he first came out on JP, which I absolutely regretted, he wasn't really about damage, but more so about shenanigans that the enemy didn't really have any answer for it, because he re-breaks a broken target, gives himself another turn, gets another like refreshes an ability usage. Like Vayne is more so like, I wouldn't say he's like pure damage. He's more so like he's like the definitive like offensive like utility shenanigans. I'm pulling all the tricks on you. What are you gonna do about it? You have no answer to this. You know, he's like the gimmicky character where the gimmicks are actually like, you know, they're not just gimmicks. They're actually something that is very, very useful, where it essentially trivializes a lot of the Cosmos stages. So comparing him to Sephiroth, raw damage, I'm going to give it to Sephiroth. I mean, let's be honest. Sephiroth's raw damage, single target DPS, it's really hard to compare him to anybody else because he just hits so hard. But Vayne brings a lot of tricks, brings a lot of shenanigans, brings a lot of gimmicks that generally most enemies, I mean, unless they start releasing enemies with like turn delay resist or free turn resist, which is going to be weird. I don't know how they're going to program that. Yeah, it's really hard to compare what Vayne can do. But overall raw damage, Sephiroth completely obliterates Vayne in my opinion. But Vayne, as far as like overall usability and tricks and stuff like that, he takes the cake for that.
I definitely agree with you. I see, me personally, I see Cloud more of like a utility DPS, like you mentioned with his 100% paralysis. You have to have his 15 CP passive. If you guys don't have it by now, this game's been out for over a year. He was amongst the first characters we received, so you guys definitely have to have it by now. Now, I know definitely for sure a lot of characters will be comparing or looking forward to Vayne. Vayne is another hyped up melee DPS unit. And, you know, I again, just like 40, I did not pull for Vayne over my JP account. I missed out on that bandwagon. So to say, I missed out on the Renault and Vayne bandwagon. So global-wise, I'm not sure if I'm going to pull for him yet or not. But the one thing that I kind of see Vayne, I'm comparing his abilities to. So with Sephiroth, with Genova, he gives the enemies a speed down. Vayne, with his second ability called Force of Will, he gets a unique buff called Consul's Wisdom, which raises all party members' max brave and attack. So I know a lot of people are going to look at that max brave and attack over speed. You know, you got to pick and choose your battles. Again, like Boy said, the fact that Vayne can re-break a target, you know, that's essentially a delay. You're pushing back an enemy, and you can do all these wonderful shenanigans. So that's definitely a tough one for a newer player. I'm a Sephiroth fan. I love Sephiroth, but maybe for a newer player, I might suggest Vayne for them. What do you think about that one, 40?
For me personally, I would prioritize Vayne over Sephiroth, only because of the fact that Sephiroth's EX weapon repeated a few times already on JP, whereas Vayne has yet. Well, Vayne's Lost Chapters is coming out soon to JP, but the thing is that if we look at the here and now, it hasn't repeated just yet. So if you decide to, let's say you decide to skip Vayne, you're like, I'm gonna pull for Sephiroth, I'm just gonna save my resources. Just keep in mind that you ain't gonna be seeing Vayne's weapon for quite some time until his Lost Chapters comes out. That is, of course, they changed things in the global version of the game. But if we take a look at the two characters, who's more popular, Vayne or Sephiroth? Sephiroth is way more popular than Vayne, because to be honest, I didn't really play Final Fantasy XII, so when Vayne was first announced in JP, I was like, who is this politician-looking guy with long hair that, you know, for some reason, his weapon is swords that float around him, but then he likes to do kung fu and boxing and martial arts for some reason on the enemy. You know, who is this guy, right? So, you know, you just got to take that into consideration. But, I mean, usability-wise, and if you're free to play, and if you're more focused on the meta because you want to be able to clear hard content, Vayne. If you want to focus on favorites, Sephiroth.
Well said, well said. Now, on to the next part. Team compositions to pair along Sephiroth. Now, me, I I personally think that Sephiroth would want a. Who would I pair him with? I would definitely pair him up with Lena. Just keep him healthy, just in case he does receive any HP damage from the enemies. Get that HP regen, and of course that Brave regen in as well. And I'm thinking he might go well alongside a debuffer, so potentially Lilithset, because he will be HP now that he does have those HP attacks built into his Fervent Blow. He'll be at 0 Brave, so Lilithset can essentially Brave Battery the team alongside Lena, and the fact that also Lilithset has that attack and magic attack down, so the enemies won't be hitting as hard. Now, another option that I do think goes, other types of units that go very, very well with DPSs are tanks. So we have Warrior of Light's reworked on the horizon, so he will be an amazing tank to pair up with Sephiroth. 40 thoughts?
Those are definitely good team setups. Lena, honestly, bro, I think Lena is gonna be like a must. Like, even if you don't have her EX, when we're approaching the Cosmos era, Lena is one of those characters you're like, if you have her 15 and 35 passive and she's at 60, you better put her on your team, because that HP regen at 20% of max HP combined with her potential 90% initial Brave reduction on a boss it's just too good. It's just too good. So this is my team comps. If you want a more like balanced team setup, you have Lena. Okay, Lena is going to take care of making sure your party survives. You have Sephiroth, hits super hard on the physical side of DPS. And then you have Rinoa, okay, because Rinoa, the ultimate glass cannon, she does... primarily you're going to be using her for magic DPS. So then you have both of those sides of the damage covered. You have both physical and magic. Now, this is a more aggressive comp that I have for Sephiroth. So you have Sephiroth, physical DPS. You have Lilithset, who provides battery, who also is a debuffer. And then you have somebody named Auron, who has a melee imperil that will make Sephiroth hit a whole lot harder. And I know Auron right now, we don't really see him used, but since he has an EX available to him, he has a level 60 available to him, if you put him alongside Sephiroth, and then you put somebody like an aggressive debuffer, let's say, not even like, if you want to be even more aggressive and you're like, I don't care about battery, I just want to debuff like crazy, you could use Kefka and just go to town, as long as you are aware of the risks of that party. You can even try to use him with Ramza if you want to be a little bit more safe. But those are some of the team comps that I have that I feel like would definitely complement Sephiroth with what we currently have in the global version of the game.
Correct. And I was actually just thinking about the units alongside with him, like 40 mentioned, Aiko. He would pair nicely with him. Brave regen, HP regen. She doesn't have an EX weapon, but don't leave her out. Do you think Kate Sith would still be viable, 40?
Oh yeah, Kate Sith would definitely be viable. I think Sephiroth benefits well in general with a battery, especially with his Octaslash having overflow, because you Brave battery him, he's already close to his whatever his max Brave amount is, right? So the moment he uses Octaslash with his Brave already being batteried, you're guaranteed to hit that 150% overflow, meaning that a lot more HP damage, right?
Right.
So yeah, definitely a battery would help him out. I think the best batteries that would help him out the most would likely be Lena and Lilithset for sure. And then you have some niche offside characters like Auron that's able to assist him well. You have tanks that could definitely assist him well because they can protect him from damage. So a lot of options with Sephiroth for sure. Since he's just strictly a DPS unit and he knows what he does. He doesn't really he kind of supports the party in like an off-sense way with his speed down for enemies, so kind of like offensive utility. But overall, great character. A lot of team compositions that you can go off of, and definitely excited for this character to get a level 60 because he's definitely super powerful. Even without his EX weapon, I already feel like he's a super powerful character. So.
For sure. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I did forget to include one slide. Artifact passives. I know a lot of people will be asking about artifact passives. Now, I know a lot of the recommendation ones for Sephiroth are going to be his Crystal level 50 passive, which is One Winged Angel, attack 108, and max Brave 330.
when it comes to DPS units, that's generally the standard. But for me personally, I think I like 108 and then his level 50, the one that buffs up his level 50 passive. But you can't really go wrong with 108 max brave plus 330 at this point when it comes to damage dealing units. Unless like their level 50 passive clearly surpasses max brave plus 330, it's very safe to go with that combination. Although I will say, with how tedious artifact farming is, I've only seen attack 108 and max brave plus 330 once in all of my artifact farming on both Global and JP. I'm just like, dude, they need to increase the rates on the... Even with Idojas, I'm like, they need to increase the rates on those two particular passes. Like, come on, you know? That's generally what you want for damage-dealing units.
I agree. Just the rates, that's like a completely different discussion with the rates with the Dojas. Yeah, also in regards to like having attack and max break just being on the same one, that is very rare. That is very rare. And I know there's a few out there that have... How do you guys get so lucky? I've seen a few out there that just have the attacks and max braves together with low CP. Damn it. But
I know.
all right, guys. So that concludes our analysis about Sephiroth and his awakening and his EX weapon. 40. Do you have any closing thoughts?
If Sephiroth's your favorite pull, even if he's not, I feel like he's worth it. If you decide to skip him, he's gonna come back, because remember, he will never be a memory, guys. He will never be a memory. So
nicely done. I definitely agree with 40. He's a great unit, guys. He's a great single target DPS. Like you said, he won't be a memory, so he does come back. He does come back strong with his EX plus later down the line. So again, that is it for this video, friends. I want to thank you guys for coming out and watching this. I want to thank 40 The Broadway Saiyan for doing this alongside of me and you know, picking up any stats that I did miss out. So thank you, 40. I greatly appreciate this.
definitely, brother. Again, thank you so much for having me on this. It's been a pleasure to be able to do these collaborations with such as you know, a fellow content creator and streamer as yourself. I think it's a way to bring the community together, because it's a game that brings people together. You have all these characters from these different Final Fantasies, starting from like the late 80s all the way to where we're at now. And I think the fact that us content creators are getting together, presenting this information and getting people informed of these characters and just helping them out is just a great way to bring people together. So thank you again so much from the bottom of my heart for having me on this collaboration. I'm looking forward to working more together with you, bro. This was a lot of fun.
I am definitely down to that. So again, friends, that is it for this video. Let us know down below in the comments, what do you guys think about Sephiroth? Are you guys going to pull for Sephiroth? Are you guys going broke for Sephiroth? Or are you guys skipping Sephiroth and going for Bane? So until next time, friends, good luck and have a good one.
Thank you guys, blessings, and thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
I will never be a memory.